Hey guys, this is Charlie subbing in for TheTopher to bring you first drive coverage of the all-new 2025 Nissan Kicks. For 2025, the Kicks is on an entirely new platform. It's got an upgraded, naturally aspirated 2-liter engine, and for the first time, you can get it with all-wheel drive. So today we're outside of Santa Barbara, California. We're going to take you on a little drive and tour of the car. This one we're driving today is a top-level SR grade. We've got all-wheel drive and the Premium Package, so as you're looking at it, about $31,000. Like I said, it's on an entirely new platform. This was based off of the European Juke, so Europe still gets the Nissan Juke, but they changed it a little bit and gave us here the new Kicks. It's larger in just about every dimension from the outgoing Kicks, and they're trying to kind of keep that entry-level vibe, trying to keep it fun. Arguably looks a lot more interesting than the outgoing Kicks. Coming into the back, we're looking at a slightly larger cargo area. Of course, this one being all-wheel drive, a little bit more compromised in the rear, but if you get the front-wheel drive model, you're gonna have a little bit of extra space. Oh, we do have a spare tire. It looks like a compact spare nonetheless. Cool to still get that. Fewer and fewer cars coming with spare tires these days. A little bit of a cargo cover there. Let's fold the seats and see what sort of fold action we're getting. Nissan says you can get a 65-inch TV in here, but it does look like you're going to have to move the driver's seat a little bit to get the seats folded. Manual seats here in the top-level trim. Okay, so decently flat load surface there. Looks like we're working with 60/40 split fold seats. A lot of fun materials and designs here in this SR grade. This is sort of a faux leather with a cloth insert. Should move the seat back a little bit and get some realistic seat room. But in the rear, we're getting a lot of space. Nissan said that they wanted to make it a little bit larger in the rear, more comfortable for adults. I think they did a good job with that. And they added their zero-gravity seats to the outboard seats here in the rear. So you've got good relief in the pressure points and very quick impressions. It does seem comfortable. I've got a lot of knee room, sitting upright at 5'10", not hitting my head against the ceiling. They even put some soft bits on the outside elbow spot here in the door. That's thoughtful. And look at this, one touch down windows at this price point. That's actually a little bit surprising. One touch down and one touch up. Okay, all right. Rear seat back pocket, even on the driver's seat. No vents back here though. That's a little bit disappointing. I don't know if there are any vents under the seat. Doesn't feel like it. Definitely none in the center. So if you are going to be putting adults back here, then they're still going to have to be cooled from the front. And that's a little bit disappointing for anybody with children or taking adults regularly, especially out here in the heat. You do have that flip down armrest. 2 USB-C ports. You can see we're putting to work. And new for this year, only with the top level SR Premium Package for this $31,000 price point, you're getting the Bose speakers in the headrest for both the driver and the passenger. So that's new for the Kicks for this year, getting the passenger Bose headrests. And apparently they have, yep, okay, so right there is where the speaker cables are coming through. Interesting. No power liftgate. That's going to be disappointing for some people, but we do have what Nissan claims to be nearly class-leading 8.4 inches of ground clearance. Don't think we're really going to be able to put that to the test here today, but it does give the new Kicks a more aggressive and SUV-like stance. So brings the proportions up a little bit, makes it feel like a larger car, even though it is still a fairly small vehicle. What are we working with here for tires and wheels? We've got Bridgestone Alenzas, very greased up. 225/45 R19s on this SR model. I'm sure you're going to get some bigger sidewall and smaller wheels on the lower trims. Let's get driving. Getting into the driver's seat, we look up and see a panoramic sunroof, something you do not see much of in the subcompact crossover class. We've got sun visors that do extend and block the whole window. I like that. We're also seeing dual 12.3-inch screens here in front of us. We got one for the gauge cluster, giving us that very familiar Nissan gauge cluster setup, and then an infotainment screen that is a bit far away, but it features wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support. You can see Android Auto here, but I know Chris is going to want me to show you guys Apple CarPlay, so let's show you pairing up a phone. I found the process to be quite straightforward earlier. Go up to the settings, phone, connections, add device, disconnect, my Kicks, pair it up. And smartly, Nissan has included wireless device charging on any of the trims that have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So on the base model, you're going to have to plug in order to get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but on S, V, and SR models, you get wireless charging and wireless phone projection. There we have it, Apple CarPlay coming up, and it's nice that it takes up a good portion of the screen, but they still give you quick toggles over on the left to get back to some of the core Nissan functionality. So if you want to get quickly home, quickly to your media, or to your climate screen, very easy to do right there. Just single zone climate control here in this car, but we do have heated seats and a heated steering wheel. The all-wheel drive Kicks are getting multi-link rear suspension, and like I said, we've got a little bit more power for this year out of this naturally aspirated 2-liter engine and an updated CVT. 141 horsepower, 140 pound-feet of torque. They claim to have redesigned their continuously variable transmission in order to have a dual pump design. It's supposed to be a little bit more efficient, a little bit more responsive. Still not exactly going to give you the most sporty driving in this vehicle, especially having to spin more wheels. But let's put it up into sport mode. We're on some of these twistier turns and corners. No sort of paddle shifters or anything. I find that to be pretty honest. I mean, any CVT that's giving you shifters is just playing with you. This is a particularly loud section of road, some older asphalt. The chassis feels nice. Powertrain is not what I would call responsive, but they claim that this platform is much stiffer, easier to steer than the old platform, and I can see where they're coming from with that. I will say the steering is nicely weighted. It's very light. It's appropriate for this sort of vehicle. They don't make it artificially heavy in sport mode or anything like that. Went over this really broken section of pavement. Ride is better than I would have expected with these 19-inch wheels also. Absorbing the bumps quite nicely. One thing that is a bit interesting is with this climate control setup, there's no way to see what temperature your climate control is set at when you have phone projection up. So you can see you've got Apple CarPlay doing navigation, and nowhere do I see my temp or fan speed. If I go home, then you see it displayed down here, 68 degrees, but you only see it when you change it with CarPlay up. That's an interesting design decision there. I'll toss it down a few of these twists and turns. Nothing revolutionary from the powertrain, but the chassis does feel good. It's pretty planted through these corners. Not getting much flex. We've seen this before from entry-level Nissan products where the chassis and the suspension and the steering all outperform the powertrain placed in them. But what's more important at this price point in this segment is that someone's going to get this car and have it as a daily driver, and maybe they'll take it out on adventure roads like this, and they're going to feel good about their car. They're going to feel confident now that it's got all-wheel drive. If they're using it in the winter, they're going to be able to take advantage of Nissan's updated VDC and their brake bias and yaw control, and the car is going to act more predictable and more safely in either emergency or just kind of aggressive driving situations like this. Nissan's giving you a good amount of standard safety features in here, such as rear automatic emergency braking and blind spot monitoring and lane departure detection. You're getting those even on the base S trim for about $22,000 or so. And then if you're getting the Pro Pilot Assist package, then you're getting a lot of the a lot of the safety features that you might not be seeing until you step up to much more expensive cars just a few years ago. Now you're getting things like the cross traffic alert and pedestrian alerts and blind spot intervention. And when you're talking about, oh man, this thing really needs to get up and go, come on. I was full throttle this whole time trying to get going. When you're talking about newer drivers, younger kids perhaps, then you're going to want them to have all those standard safety features and get them into something that's going to try to keep them safe in as many driving situations as possible. Up here at highway speeds, you get to enjoy one of the, I'd say, better than average active driving assists on the market. It's Nissan's Pro Pilot Assist. This isn't their Pro Pilot Assist 2.1 like you get in the Aria, where you can drive for periods of time with your hands off the wheel, or I should say extended periods of time. But you can take your hands off the wheel for a little while. You'll see after about 8 seconds, I'm going to get a little notification that pops up on the screen, reminding me to put my hands back on the wheel. But it's taking us nicely through this corner, keeping us centered in the lanes. I start to get that beeping sound, further reminding me to put my hands back on the wheel. Adaptive cruise control is confident. I'm at the middle following distance here. There's 3 different levels. If I move it closer, we'll get a little bit closer to this Tacoma. CVT keeping the revs down low as well. Let's get back up to 70 miles per hour. You can see the revs jump up to get us up to speed and then settle right back down. About, what is that? About 1800 RPM. Road noise, middle of the class. I don't like the noise I'm getting from these tires. We'll see when we get over to this next section of concrete maybe. There's more road noise than I'd like coming through. But the engine is remarkably docile, especially when we're idling. I noticed that. But even now, we're going to have to rev up a little bit to get up this hill. Let's see. Yeah, it's still almost 3,000 RPM. You really don't hear it. I noticed that when I had this powertrain in the Nissan Sentra recently as well. It's a refined 2-liter. I'm kind of glad they just stuck with a plain naturally aspirated setup because it does work well. I'll play a few tracks to demo the Bose sound system in here with the headrest speakers, the Personal Plus, as they call it. system behind us here. Here's all the way down. And then we'll go all the way up. Obviously, certain sounds are going to come through more clearly in here depending on how the track is mixed. I found right in the middle seems to be the best balance between those. And if you do want to see a more thorough breakdown on the system, check out DM Sound. I did a whole sound system review on this. These speakers in the headrest essentially take a below average system and bring it up to a slightly above average system. We're wrapping up our day here in the updated Kicks, and Nissan got a lot right with what they need to do in this class of vehicle. First of all, it's got to be engineered well. People can feel when a car feels cheap or doesn't drive right. The Kicks does drive well. The chassis is good, the engineering's good, and the interior materials and the design, everything has really taken a step up from previous entry-level Nissan models. They also need to ace the value play, and I do think Nissan has done a good job with that as well here with the updated Kicks. It still falls in line pricing-wise with a lot of the competitors, and it offers most of the features that you're going to want at this price point and kind of come to expect. The two omissions that really stand out to me are, one, no power liftgate. I know that's not super common here in this class, but people are going to want to have that. It's something that once people, maybe not once they have, it's an easy way to differentiate yourselves, having a power liftgate. And then also not having any sort of hybridized powertrain. I understand that it's going to keep it simpler, it's going to keep engineering costs down to just kind of have a one and done powertrain solution, and this 2-liter inline 4 motor is fine. It's perfectly competent. I spent a week with it in the Sentra recently as well. It was fine there, it's fine here. But some people are just they're gonna want a little bit more. They're gonna want to have that smoother driving experience and the more fuel-efficient driving experience that you get in something like the Corolla Cross Hybrid. You're just not gonna have that here in the Kicks. But they've hit all of the other cores. We've got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. We've got optional all-wheel drive. We have all the safety features you're gonna want. And then you have some extra niceties like remarkably comfortable seats and a decently large infotainment screen. In fact, this is one of the largest in the class. I would like to see a little bit of extra interior storage space. That would be nice to have. It's fairly limited up here, a lot of wasted dead space. But I do really like the direction that Nissan's going with this. I like that they've got a lot of soft touch interior materials, and I like that the cost didn't really go up all that much for this new Kicks as well. Light steering too, they did a nice job with that. Kudos to the chassis engineers here for the Kicks. We've also got that 360 camera. That's going to be good for more of an entry-level sort of driver. And auto up-down windows on all four. That's one of those things that it makes me happy. I know it sounds so silly and subtle, but why not? How much more does it really cost to put the regulators in all those windows and have it feel that much more upscale? All right. Let's hop out and take one more look at it. I also realized that we did not take a look at the engine when we started, so those of you who are keen on seeing that 2-liter inline 4, let's take a look at it. No hood struts, not too surprising at this price. There it is. And a lot of Kicks branding on this car. We've got Kicks here. You've also got Kicks here, and Kicks here, and there. A lot of places that they've said the word Kicks, and I'm kind of surprised that we don't even have Kicks on these wheels. Also, I should point out that I was mistaken on the pricing for this one. This one you're looking at is actually $32,485, so about $32,500 for this one. A little bit of that extra cost comes from these optional wheels and comes from some splash guards and cargo covers, but you can have essentially all the features on this one for about $32,000. I do really like that rear styling. That's pretty cool. All right, well, thank you all for watching. I'm sure Chris will have a Kicks back at his home in Michigan before too long, maybe sometime beginning of next year, and give you more of his thoughts on the car. But Nissan going in a good direction here. Let's see if they can continue that with the Armada and the Murano both coming in with refreshes for this year. We'll see you on the next one, everybody.